in a sulfuric acid attack out where I live in my side of London, East London, Essex. I was in and out of hospital for a few years. Could see things needed. My own health was failing, but construction was always there to pick me up. Every time I needed a job, construction was there, construction was there, construction was there. So, and then 6 months after that, diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. I was almost mentally tough enough to go up and get through this, but my body just couldn't keep up with it. And it was that real, till today I look at it now, and where your mental health and physical health are intertwined basically, and how you need to balance them both out. Yeah. Construction just needs to be very much aware of the stress we are putting on people, and it's horrific. It's, and any other industry wouldn't have it. There's one thing in construction we don't talk about, and the news and the media does not show. Suicide in construction is bad. Construction suicide is happening on projects all over the country. These things don't get promoted across the media channels. I want legislation in place, because people will then be given a set of guidelines and rules and regulations to work to. I've seen standards across the industry. Then they're out there, but I say we're speaking to fit out world, the highways world, everyone's working off different standards. And at the moment, the tier one world, I truly believe, is the problem in construction at the moment, that they're not going, right, let's all just come together as tier ones and show that we are accountable for this and can make significant change. People, like, it's deep and it's dark and it's triggering, I get that, but the industry needs to show some accountability and be aware this deep, dark thing, it's literally brushing it under the rug doesn't help anymore.
Steve.
Yes.
Welcome, my friend.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
No troubles, man. This has been a long time coming, this one.
It has, hasn't it? I did submit a few people yesterday, so we kept them passing dates and then it kept them coming back around. And but keeping on it. Thanks for keeping on top of me.
No troubles, mate. Like I said before, we've obviously come on air. It's been difficult for me to get people like yourselves on who want to speak openly about your specific topics and whatnot in our industry. And it's something that I want to bring to this podcast a little bit more as well. Yeah. So I'm grateful you've come on and happy to have a chat about it. Yeah,
all day long. So, like I said, there's not much I don't speak about loudly. So
what a brilliant podcast guest.
Son of a black cab driver, so I'm born to talk.
They do ramble, don't they?
Yeah.
But mate, I always like to start at the start. Do you want to give us like a little bit of background about you and give us an idea of how you made your way into the construction industry? Yeah,
so my name's Steve Kerslake. I'm the founder of what is known as Construction Sport. We are a team of construction workers effectively in the background who have brought together a charity to provide sporting opportunities for construction workers to enjoy themselves, is the ultimate kind of aim of it. That way of doing that is sport and exercise, obviously, but we understand that the industry is suffering massively in regards to mental health and well-being and physical health in certain ways. But yeah, stress of the industry are too much and no one's getting much downtime. I've been in the industry, it'll be 20 years next year, I suppose. It's a bit scary. You
can't be that old, can you?
Yeah, I'll be 36 now. I'll be 37. I've got, so it's 20 years. Yeah, 36. Yeah, I started 16, 17. I got working. When I should have been studying for GCSEs, I was on a building site in between. Literally, when we were revising, I was fitting windows with a firm that mate of mine's dad. So, yeah, that was pretty much how I got to construction on that one. A friend of mine's dad at football was like, Steve, as soon as you finish school, do you want to come work with us on site? He said, I know you're a good crack, and I was physically fit, I suppose, and fit and healthy. So within a few weeks of during leaving school, a few weeks after leaving school, I was around the country from Southampton, actually, funny enough, Winchester, then we went to Cardiff, Sunderland, Birmingham, a few places, just all over the place in no time. And I grew up as a kid with my dad watching our Vida Same Pet. So to be then on the road with a team of multicultural people, there's Jimmy the Albanian, the Bulgarians, there's all of us just travelling the country. It was just straight into the fire really, of construction. And it was unbelievable. We used to get paid 50, 60 pound a day.
That's good money considering that you were...
all expenses paid in a way, I suppose. Yeah, 16. So because you'd go out, because we'd be working away. But you would take a sub at the end of the day, could have me 60 quid now, and then go straight out on the beers and getting to places underage with the older guys. And before you knew it, you're parting your way around the country really. And it's short-term lived when you realise hangovers kick in later on in life. And
I had to be fair, when I was about 16, I think, or 17, similar age, I was labouring for a shop fitting company.
Yeah.
And we used to work all around the country.
Yeah.
And I used to get I think I got about 78 quid a day maybe.
Yeah.
But they used to give us a food allowance.
Yep.
So I'd get 78 quid a day and I'd get 20,
Yeah, it's up,
25
yeah.
quid maybe.
Yeah.
But I was obviously only 16, 17. I was still living at home. So I'm not afraid to say it. My mum used to do like a week shop for me.
Yeah.
And then I used to take a bag up with me with the week shop and then just keep the 20 quid.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I used to-
100%.
so
Yeah,
I-
for sure, definitely.
I used to pocket it and then and then I'd like sort of like save up and then we'd go on like the nights out and stuff whilst I was
Yeah,
up there. So-
yeah, you just see it, and there's all different ways of seeing lads over the years. And I say
Yeah.
lads because it was always guys, I
Yeah,
suppose,
sure.
predominantly. But it's always been, how can you just nick the extra quid?
Yeah.
You know, how can you just save that little bit? But mind you, do that, and then come like Wednesday night, Thursday night, they're going to blow it all anyway. So it's just kind of, yeah, there's guys that take that money, sleep in the back of their van, which is a bit sad, really. But and they'll do that for a long time. They'll just have a black mattress in the back of the van, sleep freezing cold, but they know they're getting an extra 20, 30 quid for it. So. Yeah, the needs and must are what people do.
So how long did you do the working around for? And
So it was in that was a good few years, 2-3 years, I suppose, of that. Then come 2008, when the kind of the crash happened, the company I was with then struggled a bit. The fit out world, I suppose, and what we was doing in that world, the glazing, that was struggling. And then I ended up peeling away and getting into landscape gardening. What was brilliant, a friend of mine left the job and said that I'm not burning my bridges here, but I'm moving on to a scaffold company. And do you want to take my job? And I said, go on, I'll have it. So I went and done that for a year. But I ultimately left the once I'd done that and come out, I actually wanted to join the Royal Marines when I was younger, that age, 16, 17. And I signed up to join the Marines, and then I went through the training process, went through the paperwork and the maths tests and that at the careers office. But I wanted to join because there was an advert that said I could go skiing for a living. And I was like, that was literally it.
At least you're honest.
Yeah, 100%. I was like, I've got no interest in war.
Yeah.
My dad was in the military. He's a territorial army, Royal Green Jacket. And my granddad was in the Navy. And so there was kind of a history of it. And I grew up, my dad's a massive fan of military history. So I grew up, like I say, it was a very same pet and watching coming home and Adolf Hitler's parade around my house again like this. The music, just History Channel and just that's all the stuff about World War II and Churchill and all that was in the house all the time. So that had played a big influence. But this Arctic warfare training, I started skiing with my dad going away as of year 2000. Every year went for a week holiday together and then different people, family and friends. And I just loved skiing. And then I thought, I can do Arctic warfare. Plus, my dad will back me up because he loves the military as well. So I could just go to Norway. This program was all based in Norway. And not too long after that, around that time, they cancelled that program, and they said that because of the Middle East is going so badly, you would have to go out there. And then I didn't get told that by the careers office. Didn't sell that bit to me. That was told to me by a friend of mine who was in there. He said you will get posted out very, very quickly. And I just thought, no, hands up. Full respect to all those guys who do that, but that's not me. That's not where I want to be. So I pulled the plug on that, and I actually went out to Austria and done 2 ski seasons over 2 winters. I went on my own the first one, then I took my missus on the next one, who did so today is my wife. Went out there, worked behind a bar, skied all day, but lived amongst people from all over the world. And it was the real kind of straight into the fire again of not knowing anything in life. Never served a drink in my life behind a bar, and now behind a bar with Euros and beer that is a lot more gassy than it is in the UK, but awesome. And
life experience-wise.
Yeah, life experience-wise, unbelievable. And I come back just kind of ready to take on and go and talk to anyone, really. And that's kind of opened up doors to it. So I come back around that time, all around that time amongst, I'm trying to think what it was now. It would have been a bit earlier than that. I'd done that, because I started suffering with ulcerative colitis in my stomach and all this kind of stuff. And went into this whole world, a whole new story to it, I suppose. But I was in and out of hospital for a few years, and I could see things needed. My own health was failing, and but construction was always there to pick me up. Every time I needed a job, construction was there. So, yeah, the story of it, I suppose, goes back to, with all that side of it, in amongst these ski trips and all the fun stuff, I was caught up in a sulfuric acid attack out where I live in my side of London, East London, Essex. Done my eye in a little bit. I'd come across my cornea in my eye, burnt my pupil slightly, but more my cornea. Done a few blemishes under my eyebrow, down my chest, and a few down my face.
So is that just for, it's a naivety? Is that someone's obviously thrown
Yeah,
acid
it happened
in
on
your
a
face?
Friday night out. I'd come back from a rugby tournament in Southend-on-Sea, and then went back to where I lived, a little town called Southend-on-Ferrers. And these 3 guys were walking towards us innocently, and there was a group of guys that I knew from school but wasn't with, but I knew them, so I walked alongside them. And one of them had a bottle of acid on him, and I naively just thought it was a drug of some description. I weren't really interested in. I'd got me food and I was going home. I literally got the taxi dropped us off at the kebab van. I was walking home and they were on my journey home, so I just walked with them. But they attacked these 3 innocent guys for no reason. I obviously heavily disagreed with it and was just like, what are you doing? They left these guys in a bit of a state. And I jumped in to defend the 3 guys, and then these group of 10 lads kind of turned on me. And then, before I could try and defend myself, should we say, we got into a bit of an argument of what was going to be a fisticuffs, I suppose. But the second I stepped forward, the guy just threw a bottle of acid at me, and then took that. That was lasted for a good few months of get my face rebuilt a little bit. It was quite. I've done. Like I say, I've done very well. Look at how gorgeous I am now. People say so. They must have done you a favour, Steve. I must have tidied you up a little bit. But that was around the same time as Katie Piper. That had happened. It was that same summer. It was late summer, I think we'd done it. It might have been autumn time. And it was around that same period. And so it was kind of the thing. And that, it took a few months to get healed up properly. But once it was all kind of dried up and right, I was straight back onto site again.
Yeah.
In the landscape gardening world at that point, building landscaping. And with that, I straight away got nicknamed Acid Steve by one of the aggregate suppliers. And I always say it wasn't because of my love of house music. It was like my name become that. And I noticed just within days, I'd been in this down place of pity, I suppose, and not knowing what's going on in my life with what's happened. And then people on site were just like, we don't really care about what's going on with them. We want you to enjoy yourself, and we can give you some stick either way. So that banter, people say bullying or banter. You could have directed it at bullying towards me, but I took it as banter, and I liked it. And it was just straight back into fire with people that saying, let's have a laugh. So we don't care, we're behind you, and we support you. And all these, and the industry was great to me. And then 6 months after that, diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. I didn't sleep at night properly.
From the attack, was that?
Yeah, kind of went back from that. I was waking up at 1 o'clock in the morning most mornings. I've never actually, but someone said it a few months ago, it was at the same time at night it happened, and I've never thought of that. I thought it would have been around that time. So I don't know if the timings was just ironic because it's the middle of the night or not, but diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. Was 20ish, young kid anyway. Either way, I think it was late. I'd been 19, 20 at that point when I started really suffering. And I kind of thought I'm not really interested in a label. It's something I don't really shout about even today. I'm not interested in a label. There's a few labels people call me, but they're different ones. I was like, I don't really care. I'm 20. I'm going to be 20, 21 at the time, whatever. I just want to crack on with my life and get on with it. So I kept it all to myself, didn't say words. And I thought that military thing again, that PTSD is a military thing. I don't warrant this. I've not been to war. I'll keep my mouth shut.
Well, it's funny you say that, because that's what when you said PTSD, that's the first thing I thought of in my head. Was like war veterans who suffer from it. Yeah, because it goes back to, and I've done a lot of homework since, just because they've researched and put so much effort into supporting that the post-traumatic stress disorder in the military world in comparison to the rest of the industries or the country. But we can I'll touch on that. So I hid it as long as I can. But what I was working away all the time as well, again with work. I went from working locally in the landscape gardening to working with another friend of mine doing heavy civils, and I was working over in Farnborough at the time. So from where I am in M25, it's completely the other side. We were driving it backwards and forwards every day, doing 15, 16-hour days, door to door. And then we said, this is too much. Let's get digs down here. So we stayed in digs. But the diet and the lifestyle, what comes with that life, whether it's in the digs or just doing 16-hour door-to-doors, was just savage. And I just couldn't keep up. And I started bleeding quite heavily of the stomach when I went to the toilet. And I got to a point, I was like, this is a bit more than just your average kind of problem. And I let on to my girlfriend at the time about it and said that I don't think something's right. So I went and got checked. Probably gave the doctor about 20% of the truth. And was just like, as we do. You're talking to a doctor with massive hands. I'm saying, you're going, I'm going to take this very easy. So I kind of just was like, it's just a little bleeding here and there, blah, blah, blah. But it was bad. And they gave me suppositories and went through all this kind of stuff. And it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And I wasn't sleeping properly. My diet was horrific. And boozing as well. Every night, at least having 1 or 2 beers, not just getting smashed every night, but there's always alcohol somewhere along the line each day, really. And after a good 6 months of it, 6 months of that as well,
the bleeding and stuff, it started getting worse. And then people started noticing that I was losing weight. And I was £10.3 as a kid, as a baby. My mum's never forgiven me.
It's a big baby, isn't it?
I was a big lump. And I've put on weight ever since. I've never, ever dropped weight. I've gradually just, all the way till today, just creeping. I'm trying to control it now. It's a bit harder. But I started losing weight without trying to. And I knew then, shit, but people are going to start really notice this now. And I had a little cut on my shin from I caught my shin on a shovel, digging a trench. And the cuts wouldn't repair. Literally, it just wouldn't heal. Couldn't see scab. I couldn't get rid of the scab. But now looking back, it's just your immune system's just knackered. And it got to a point where I could see, even myself, that I was I was almost mentally tough enough to go, I can get through this, but my body just couldn't keep up with it. And it was that real, till today I look at now, and where your mental health and physical health are intertwined, basically, and how you need to balance them both out. Yeah. Went into hospital later on down the line. They confirmed I had ulcerative colitis of the stomach. It was basically my stomach's got ulcers on it, and I was in an emergency situation. Really, they said that we confirm you've got it, and we're also going to confirm we've got to operate in the morning.
Oh wow!
So I was like, oh crikey! I was like, well, I don't know what it is. And then I had this stoma nurse come round. I didn't know what a stoma was either, and she said you're going to have this piece of this red thing hanging out your top, and it looks like the top of an Evian cap sport bottle. Yeah. And I was like, what's that? Is that a cap I can just take off when I go to the toilet? Essentially, yeah, kind of, but that's just small intestine. And I was like, whoa, wow. Reverse up, please. I need to go through this. And within 18 hours of that kind of conversation, I had a bag attached to me, colostomy bag. What's it called, colostomy bag? Yeah, number 2 bag, basically. Yeah. And I had that ileostomy. It was a total ileostomy. They removed my large intestine. They saved my colon. And that all got left to rest whilst I had this bag. Yeah. And over the course of 2 years, they rebuilt my stomach using my small intestine. Oh, wow. What was quite mad. So
that's a major...
The first operation was 42 staples down the front of my stomach. And I always remember the next one was I hit the 50 mark. Yeah. I've asked the NHS if I could have the metal back and scrap it in, because there's a bit of weight. There's a little bit of weight there.
The extra quid.
It was. Yeah, they opened me up a couple of times. I had quite a few blood transfusions, what wasn't supposed to happen.
So the period from, maybe diagnosed or suffering from the PTSD through to that point, how long did that last?
That was from diagnosed with PTSD to probably being in a position where I'd be operated on was 18 months, I'd imagine, maybe.
And you're working on site still?
Yeah, I was on site. So the first operation come, I went into hospital to get this operation done. They didn't let me out for 10 weeks. I was in hospital ward for 10 weeks, and because it was my bowel, effectively. I was in the bowel cancer ward. I was in the ward with the bowel suffering people. It was a predominantly bowel cancer ward. Mine wasn't cancer, but it was ulcerative colitis. But I think that ward was probably what changed my life. Really, what you see. It's not too much to reflect on too much. But when I actually look back in there was just you speak to someone in the morning, and in the evening the family there, and they're not. It was just like day in day out like that, and. I think your body and your brain now talking about it, and I like to touch on it because it brings it back and makes you realise how lucky we really are. But there was so many people like that, and we're all in like these the jokes again. It was just blokes in this world just having the jokes about, is this the shittest ward you've ever been in? It's just like, well, technically it is. I'm not swearing on.
Yeah, of course you can, mate.
But it was all these good people and just like appreciating what we've got, even though some of them obviously didn't come out. But that was kind of
that changed.
That changed my life massively. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I've never experienced it for that, but I went to a war. It was a chap called Mickey McCarthy.
Yeah.
He's he formerly served in the SBS, but I went to local to here down Ham over there's the SBS camp.
Okay, yeah.
And he did like a talk, and you could like sponsor a table and have a bit of lunch, and he does like a talk anyway. He came up to me right at the very start, and I didn't actually know who he was. It's slightly embarrassing, to be fair. He actually asked me why I was there, and I was like, I'm coming to listen to a talk by someone called like Mickey McCarthy, is it? Michael McCarthy, I was going. Yeah. He goes, oh, do you know him? I was like, I actually don't know, to be honest with you. And he was like, I'm Michael McCarthy. I was like, sorry, but I knew you were going to say that.
To be honest.
But, anyway, he was telling me that he got over the, he'd had stomach, esophagus and some other cancer as well, maybe liver at the same time. And it was like, I think potentially less than a 1% chance that he'd be able to live for 10 years.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about it. He was the one that lived. And sadly enough, the day before, in the same place we were, a gentleman got diagnosed with that cancer and died within 4 weeks. And he was telling me about how it's almost like completely refreshed his whole mindset on life and how he loves everything. Because 1 minute he's been told he's likely to not live for like 3-4 weeks, and the next minute he's gotten over it and he's part of that 0 point whatever percent or 1%. And he said it just completely changed the way he perceives life and looks at life. It's funny that staring death almost in the mirror might, and like being around it kind of makes you appreciate. Yeah,
it does. There was two kind of significant times in there. I always remember there was one, the guy opposite me who was choking, and I heard him, an old boy, and he was choking a little bit, and I could hear him choking a bit, and the curtains were shut. I knew no one was in there, so I pulled the buzzer. And I said to the nurse, I said, he's having a bit of trouble. And anyway, they got him settled, he was fine. But he died by 9 o'clock that night of pneumonia, because he got fluid on the lung, and he was gone. And his family, and I was like, fuck it, like, that's how quick it can happen in this place. Yeah, and that was in the morning.
Crazy.
Like 12 hours later, the pneumonia had taken him, because he couldn't handle what had happened. And then there was another time when I was having painkillers after the second major operation part, I always said to myself, never forget this pain. Going forward, never forget it. Because it was. I had 2 nurses would come round to me and sign off the drugs they were giving to me. I was like, more. I just had some complete junkie, and they will get me most out of the NHS. And then, but I always remember them 2 monumental times, and that was I think I was in there for 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, so 10 weeks the first period, and then I went back 10 months later at that second one. I think I was in there for 3 or 4 weeks, and then. Then the third operation, they reversed it all. So literally, they rebuilt my stomach on the second one and then left it to settle and rest. And then on the third one, they just replumbed me back in, basically. Attached it back to my colon. Yeah.
What construction?
Yeah. He was Corgi registered. There's plenty of gas going on. So
that's a long, and a question I wanted to ask, and the reason why I asked earlier how long it lasted for, what, if there was any that back then, but like what sort of like support would you have been given in terms from like a mental health perspective in construction? Because you're working on site and like dealing with a lot, then you've got obviously your stomach issues and your PTSD and everything. Was there support back then? There
wasn't anything in line of Steve might need some mental support or mental health support. I just luckily had good friends on site, and the company I was working with, PL Construction at the time, a good friend of mine, Sam Lewis, they literally said that, Steve, we know you. They covered me as much as they could throughout the operation, paying me as well, I believe. So I was at home with a telephone bill to my name, and Mum and Dad paid the bills. So it's an amazing time. If you're going to get it early doors. But to have that and have overheads, and that's what I really have sympathy for people now to have loved ones and families to keep. That is another whole level of stress. But they realised that I could talk a little bit, believe it or not, hence the podcast. Really? And they also knew that I knew a little bit about groundworks, and I was good. And if I had any concerns, I'd always raise an issue, or I was always there. They knew if something needed to be done. We were good friends, and I've generally got a passion for the industry anyway, so I was never itching to go home every day and didn't want to be there. I was never one of them. But they said that they're used to us as a groundworker at the moment, because I just couldn't do anything. I couldn't risk hernias and stuff. So they said that we'll put you through your triple STS and you can just supervise for us on the job. So that was the start of it. But there was in between, so I had a few months off. I think I had a good 6 months off, maybe the first operation. And the second one, I just dropped back in and dropped out as and when I could over 2 years. And then after the second year, we were away. I was back in the game. But with that, I kind of got to a point where I realised as a 21-year-old foreman on a civils world, and civils is a gory old place, and it's covered in there's and I'll say it as one of them. There's a different calibre of person. Take about what you can. We are, and when you're 21 years old and you're working as a foreman, when people turn up to the job and just see you're 21 years old and you're the foreman, they annihilate you. And they just think, who are you to tell us? And it's straight away you privileged it or something else. But you privileged 1 or 2 words.
Was that tough, being 21 and having to tell? Because in our industry, specifically construction, I feel like there's a bit of a hierarchy in terms of the amount of time you've been in the industry. And the amount, do you know what I mean? Like, done your time as such.
It was, massively. And it would have been a little bit daunting, and I kind of got it. But I'd played a lot of rugby my whole life. And when we were 16, we were playing rugby with men and real older blokes as well. And my friendship circle, because of rugby, as a 16, 17, 18-year-old, I was out every week with 30, 40, 50-year-olds. And we were just, all my mates were multiple ages. I remember being out with mates of mine who were my dad's age. And my dad's mates I'd grown up with were literally I was out with as friends at the weekend. So my friendship circle changed like that. So I think that massively prepared me in that world. But at the same time, I caught on quite early that I've always had this thing, if someone doesn't like me, I've got angry or got something wrong with me, I'm like, well, let's just talk about it, shall we? Like, just don't ignore me and go behind my back and just moan. Just
I think that could be a bloke thing, I think, as well.
Yeah, and it is. And I like, and it's maybe a groundwork thing, but we'll just front it up and just go, well, what's the worst that can happen? Just smack me in the face. And we've had plenty of them before. So it is literally that. Nothing's worse than digging a hole for 12 hours at the end of the day. So you got this point of just fronting it up. And I realised that one of the guys was angry because he was missing an hour or two's overtime on his pay sheet, on his timesheet. And then I went to the office and just said that one of the guys outside, Jimmy's got the right arm. He's worked 2 hours last Wednesday and he's not been paid. He ain't going to come and front up. He's going to stay out there and just slag his all off, and he's got the ump about it. So instead of me going out there and fighting the fight with him and then you guys getting away with it, can you please just pay him his 2 hours? They paid him his 2 hours, and then he was my best mate then. And I was like, so I've noted that down. Get them paid properly, then we'll do all right. And then the week or so after that, whatever it was boiling hot water. It was boiling hot, and we had no water on site, really, or cold water on site. And at the lunchtime, I just went down to the local off licence and bought 6 or 7 Twisters, ice creams, and just come back to the lads. I said, lads, there's a Twister for you. And literally, they would appreciate that so much, the little token of appreciation. And I won them all over. And I was like, they're easily done. Like, how do you earn the respect of them at that age? And it was like, they started to realise then, if we've got a problem, we ain't comfortable telling the seniors, so tell Steve, he'll tell us for us. And I was like, Dad, I don't care, just treat me like that. Yeah. Ultimately, I was thinking, let me do it, because I need to justify why I'm here as well, because I can't do anything else. I haven't got anything. So
what's funny is like just kind of fast forward and rewinding as well, is that you're obviously a voice for the industry now. It's funny that you, even in those small moments there, you're almost like a voice for your team as such.
Yeah, it has. And we're reflecting that in the last few years about what it is. And I'm like, I think it is all these years of doing it. I just realised, I went, there's no one here defending the truth of what's going on the ground. And it is, I spoke with our own team in the groundwork side of it. We tried to organise a night out, and we were going to pay for the whole night out, have a great crack, but we could not get a date together between us. There's a podcast, so there's everything. You're trying to line up dates and diaries and multiple people. It's impossible. So it's family time that we're going to go out on as well. And the lads turned around the end and said, Steve, just buy us breakfast on Friday. And that was it. They were happy as Larry. We went to the cafe, bought them breakfast, and everyone was happy as Larry. And all those guys now, we're not working together now, but we're all, as soon as a job comes up, we can all be back together. We'll be back together tomorrow, because we know the crack and enjoy each other's crack. But that was kind of, it all stemmed from there, really. I'll probably take your first question quite far, but and it has become that, just fight the corner of the people. And likewise, there's the people in the office that if you're struggling to tell your team to do something, just let me know. I'll go and deliver it. Yeah. And chances are I'll get stuck in as well. So it's quite good. I'm drive machines over the years, numbers, and work on the ground. So no, I like getting stuck into it all, and developed a real passion for the industry off the back of it all.
So as a 21-year-old site foreman as such, like how did your career in construction progress from there up to kind of like where you're at now? Were you working in civils and groundworks from then on in? Yeah,
I cottoned on to that I'd lost 2 years of my life, really, best part of 2 years of work. I lost about 18 months of work over 3 years, I think it was. And I wanted to make up for lost time, and I'd obviously been sitting around a little while as well, so I picked up a few ideas. I remember looking at tower crane driving at one point, actually, and we just started working with a few crane companies now as well, so that's all coming back around. But then I thought, it's a bit lonely up there. I can't moan to anyone up in the crane. I can't get in the way of anyone. I can drop stuff on people maybe, but that's, might be a bit too harsh. I was cotton onto the railway world, and I clocked on that the railway, I was like, what can I do nights and weekends to make up for lost time? So I thought, I can take my job during the week, but I want a bit of weekend work. And the companies I was working with didn't really have much weekend or night works. There was always this thing of, if any night work comes up, I'd love to take that. We get time and a half or whatever, you get double bubble. Or, and you'd always do shorter shifts than you do in the day. So there's always this kind of, and my dad, I say, was a London cab driver, and he worked nights my whole life, really. So I could see that he'd done all right out of it. So, and I clocked on the railways there. I found I Googled railway companies in my area. I Googled how to get a rail ticket, what the PTS ticket. And I realised I needed a sponsor. And then there was a company around the corner from me, not far from where I lived. And then their phone number come up, and I think I remember getting my phone out, I thought I'd give them a ring, and I'm not sure if I rang them, they didn't answer. I thought, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to walk around there. So it was one of these days I was kind of sent home during the operation time thinking, how do I get this ticket? So I just strolled round to them, knocked on the door at their office, RTG Group, they're still based, they still support us to this day, it was amazing. And I knocked on the door, the guy answered, and the guy come through, massive lump, front row rugby player. You wouldn't even have to question it, he's a front row rugby player. Like this, straight away I looked at him, and a big smile on his face. And I said, I know you. And I said, I just want to get in a round to it. I said, but before we go into it, I said, you play rugby, didn't you? Obviously. And he said, yeah. He said, I recognise you too. His name's Dave Mulroy, he plays for Mersey Island Rugby Club.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah. I said, your mate you play alongside. I said, yeah. So I've got a piece of it. But he had this forearm strap all the time, my opposite man. I said, I've still got pieces of his forearm strap in my mouth, literally, for the last year. He clobbered me a few times, this guy. And then we just had it off from there. And I had such a laugh. And they got me through my rail ticket, doing isolation works on the rail. What was interesting, a few night shifts here and there. I didn't do many with them because within no time, a job popped up at Hornsey Rail Depot for Volker Fitzpatrick through the Danny Sullivan Group in North London. And it come up with a PTS qualified civil supervisor. And I thought, wow, I'm
right
your man.
up my street.
Yeah. So I went in there and they said, have you got much rail experience? So I went, yeah, of course I have. I've done 2 shifts last week. And they said, well, your ticket says you're a blue hat. Oh, no, don't worry about that. I'm a white hat. So, and then before you know it, I was at this depot with Murphy's. With Volker Fitzpatrick. I went to a Murphy's job after. With Volker's. And I was there for the next year. So before that job had said to me, Steve, you should push on, go look for some more money and see what's out there for you because you'll be fine. He said, take whatever job you can get, what you think's too much, but the money's all right. And he said, by the time they suss you out and you get sacked, you'd have a couple of weeks' experience. Yeah. And that was kind of, I thought I'm going to run with that.
Great bit of advice.
Yeah, it was. And I never got sacked. I never got laid off anywhere. Wherever I went, I stayed in the end. So, yeah, I spent a year on that job at Hornsey. It was a kilometre long, exactly. Was it a kilometre long or a mile long? I think it was a kilometre long in distance. Railway sidings, new train wash, new train depot. And it was the heavier civil stuff got involved. That thing went on for a year. That petered out. I think that we kind of got made. Well, not made. I was just freelance. I got laid off, and then within a week or two, we got a job. There's a compound needs building in Chapel Heath in East London, and walked onto that one. Thought, oh, this is a cool compound. What's this project all about? And I was the 6th person inducted on it, and it was Crossrail. So cool. I was like, oh, we need to hang about this one. So I cottoned onto that. I was like, well, yeah. So there's a couple of us who lasted the whole duration of that project, really. Yeah. On the east.
Long project, was it?
Yeah. So the job there, I was there for the next 4 years, I think. Wow. Yeah. So I went direct with Costains at the time as well. They took us on foot because they were like, that we've got a long period of work here and we want to take people on direct. So yeah, we went from the agency Danny Sullivan's was working for, and we got taken on full time by Costain. Yeah, and then the rest was kind of the history with that. But then, yeah, it opened up to me world. That was, it was 4 years there. Yeah. I started to realise that people in the industry were suffering from what I'd been through. And obviously I learned a lot in my own head, what I hadn't spoken about publicly at this time either. I could see all these people around me, especially the rail world as well, where people are giving up weekends, nights. You only get one day. You can take your day off. Everyone took 72-hour shifts, so 6 12-hour shifts. Or you do 6 10 hour, or you do 7 10-hour shifts. Yeah. But you can only do 13 days. You've got to have the 14th off. Right. So, but if you do 12-hour shifts, you can only do 6 days on. You got the 7th off.
It's a lot of work, isn't it? It's a lot of
but a lot of us, especially when there's freelance, we're all paid by the hour, right. And you get and your rate went up at nights, and your rate went up again on weekends. So, as in your mid-20s, and everyone's looking at a mortgage to come, everyone wants to get on the property ladder. Yeah. It was awesome. But what I noticed was you get onto that property ladder and you build that lifestyle. And then for a lot of lads, no disrespect, but some of them would climb the ranks in terms of their positions. But then some of them would just stay where they are in their position, earning the same money. And that I could see, and what I've learnt to this day as well, is the lifestyle you build, because a lot of guys are giving up their Christmases and New Year's. So you get Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Those 5 shifts, if you do night shifts at the time, we were on double time plus £300 bonus if we never else. So we were on say, I think £18 an hour it might have started off. So some of us would say, what was that, 180 quid for a 10-hour shift. Say we're getting doing what you're getting 12 for it. So we're getting 220, 230.
Yeah.
You're getting double that plus 300 quid at Christmas. So everybody's on between 750 to £1,000 within a gang of a group of you, if we include a couple of managers or whatever, per shift.
Yeah.
Now you can take that for 5 shifts over Christmas and New Year, and you can earn yourself a decent whack. And it's good and it's promising. But then if you're lucky as well, you can only do 4 days, and if it's day shift, you don't get the Christmas Eve ones. There's only 4 days, 4 bonus shifts. But if you luck out and there's a weekend in between Christmas and New Year, or most time there is, you'll get your rate on that one. So you go, I'll just work all the way through.
Yeah.
So everyone does it, and they try and have a bit of a Christmas at the end of January.
Yeah.
And it works for some people. I'd done it a couple of times before I had kids, and it worked. But you build a lifestyle that requires money all the time, and the only way you can take your foot off the gas is to find ways to earn that money. In terms of appreciating what you've got at home, you can't get those Christmases and New Year's back because you're kind of just always trying to get that money back in.
And don't you find like people just in general, like as they earn more money, their lifestyle? Yeah,
no one ever rests today. That's
No, never.
yeah.
You get an extra
100%.
£1,000 a month. You might get 2 nicer cars, and then you get an extra $5,000 a month, for instance.
The overheads
you
go
get
with
a
it.
better house, and then you're always at this. Not always, not everyone, but the majority of people stay at this level playing field where they're chasing their tail.
And
all
you
the time.
can't step back, until you want to downsize or something like that later on in life, whatever, isn't it? But and I could see that. And one guy said to me, he says, Steve, you got kids? I said, no. I said, not at the moment. I said, but in the future, hopefully. And he said, do yourself a favour. He said, once you get kids, get away from this industry. And I was like, I said, go on, 2 more. And I'll never forget it. He was from up north somewhere, this guy. And he literally said, his kids are late teenagers now, university kind of ages, colleges and stuff. He said, I've never spent Christmas Day with my children once in my life. And I was like, fuck. Yeah. Christmas is everything to me. I'm a massive fan of Christmas.
Yeah, same.
And I was just like, what? How can you not have spent... Christmas is about the kids and enjoying yourself and presents, isn't it? And he said, I've never spent a day with them, and Christmas Day with them. And I thought, well, how's that work? And he's like, no, because the first 5 or 6 years of the kids being around, I was always at work doing everything I can to provide for them. And fair play to him, hats off. He said, but after 6-7 years, the missus got the ump because I wasn't around, so she left me and took the kids. Yeah. So even if I do want to have them now, I ain't got custody of them because I'm never about. Yeah. So I've lost that completely. So he's gone a fatherhood without having that. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure he had some amazing times with his children, but that to me, I was just like, Christ. And ever since that day, that stuck with me in my head massively. It was like, I need to find a job Monday to Friday that can pay me what I'm earning Monday to Sunday at that point. And that was kind of, I went out then to find that kind of, that goal. And I set up my own little groundworks business. And then, went from there really. I'd done a bit of work at the time, freelancing with Buckingham's, who have gone now. Yeah. And then off the back of that, picked up a little contract to do a little maintenance work in terms of in the paving world. And that's kind of ticked over now.
It's just kind of, you pick things up just to get yourself by.
100%. You never know what's going to come up on the phone sort of thing, do you? So just try not to burn your bridges.
You said a minute ago as well, like in that 4-year period, you started to notice a lot more people maybe struggling, not speaking, and with your experience of sort of like your life really, I suppose, you were able to pick up on it. Yeah. Like, can you give us any examples of little situations you noticed? Yeah,
one of them was literally, I could see... so talking to that guy, it wasn't long after that, I just said to the guys, I went, no, no one's getting a bit of downtime here. I said, I've given up my playing rugby, only social rugby on a Saturday, to be working every weekend. And even when I do have a Saturday day off, I'm in Saturday night, so I'm not out socialising with my rugby mates either. So it was never kind of, I lost that for a few years. And I started to realise, Jesus, that is actually quite important. I need to be doing something. So I said to the lads on site, I said, look, I'm going to create an event for us to go and do. I said, I get 2 days off, charity days with Costain anyway, what I can take if we raise money for Macmillan at the time. And I said to the boys, I said, who wants to walk the whole of Crossrail? And they were like, what do you mean? I was like, we're going to walk the whole of Crossrail. What do you mean, on the railway? No, we're going to do it on footpaths, station to station. We're going to get stations sponsored along the route, and then people will pay to sponsor them. And we're just going to do it over 2 days. And I looked on the route, I went, shit, this is going to be 3 days. So I didn't really tell anyone. My line manager said no, I think, and I just ignored him, and we had 3 days off anyway. And they're not being told what to do, believe it or not. So we went out and walked for 3 days. There was 7 of us and a support team, a couple of people in the support crew. And we went from Reading to Shenfield via Abbey Wood. We'd done every stop on that. No one had ever done it. So if there's ever going to be a plaque on the tube for us, it needs to be for us. And we went and done it. Walked every station. We realised how hard it is to walk a marathon plus some. So it's 33 miles a day. We done that. Yeah, so
it's a long way.
It's a long way. Yeah. My theory was this is like my engineering kind of side of it and how to assess the situation of what we're going to come up against. And it was, right, if we walk for 12 hours a day, we do 12-hour shifts all the time. So we should be quite accustomed on track ballast as well. So that's got to factor in a bit more than just walking on footpaths. And then we went and walked for 12 hours and realised how little we do on these 12-hour shifts.
How much standing around
It was
going
a
on.
killer. We got a video of me pushing my mate Georgia through Heathrow Terminal because we had to go across a couple of terminals.
Yeah.
Pushing him through one of the airports on a trolley, on the actual airport buggy trolleys, because he was just done for.
Yeah.
But then off the back of that, on day 2, one of the guys was really suffering, but more in his head, I could see. And it is an emotion, like just walking, but it's an emotional toll it takes on you mentally. And day 3, he just said, I need to take the map, I need to lead, and I just need to get this over and done with. And I was like, okay. And we all kind of knew, someone mentioned, say, is he all right? And I said, yeah, he's fine, just let him have his time and take it in his own stride sort of thing. So he took the map, he led most of day 3. But on that day, he got it done, and at the end of it, his wife and his little boy was at the end of the finish line, and they were all in floods of tears. And I was like, Christ, there's obviously something gone on that I'm not aware of. And it turned out that his little boy had been in hospital for 4 to 5 years, suffering with hip issues and leg issues and growth problems. And I'd worked with this guy, Chris, for 3-4 years prior to this. I was at Hornsey with him, and then I went on Crossrail. We got back together on Crossrail. So we knew each other for 4 or 5 years at that point. And I never knew a thing about it. And I was like, Christ, this is obviously something. But he opened to me that night, opened up to me and said that you don't realise what you've done. He said, I'm the PY engineer. I run the job. You hear me before you kind of see me sort of thing. Big, tough guy. Heart of gold. He's one of the best blokes in the railway world. And a lot of people know him. His name's Chris Dennis. And he's a legend. And he said, what you've done for me and for my family is unbelievable. He said, I've not had space to just have downtime for years. He said, when I'm not this big guy on site where everyone knows I'm there leading the way, I'm at home, the big guy in the house leading the way. So I'm always this character, and I can never drop my guard. And that was him over and over, all over. So we gave him 3 days to walk and be no one for 3 days, and it opened his head to everything. I've realised, and it opened to me. The first thing I said to him was like, "Christ, Chris, that's a bit deep, mate." Right? I did it both sides and cut the emotional tension, and then we laughed and joked, had a few drinks, and partied into the night to celebrate the success of our walk.
It's small things, like it's incredible to hear that. And just a quick question off the back of that, just because it came to my mind, is like you mentioned there that you've got your big bloke on site who's got this, this not front on, but he's got this like armour on where he's like
facade.
This facade. That's it. Yeah, he's got this facade on where he's this big, strong leader on site, and he can't drop that when he goes home. Like, how much do you think that's a problem with the construction industry? Because it's predominantly guys, and there is girls obviously maybe, but as a guy, you're almost like, I don't know, like primed and to be this like strong guy, especially on a construction site as well. So like, how much do you think it's a problem that they can't let that guard down just in general day-to-day life as well?
Everywhere. Yeah, 100% in construction. I have it, even now to this day, I'll go out and speak to people. I'll speak to people across sites, and I don't open myself up to big conversations to get deep talking about people and say, I'm not a counsellor, I'm not a psychotherapist or psychologist in any way. And if anything, I avoid the big talks on site now because I know they can be quite tough and they can be quite triggering for people who then come and unload on you. And I'm not the professional here, but I've got professionals I can put you in touch with. But people say, like, you should talk. And I'm like, I've heard this for 10 years now. Blokes don't talk. No, they don't. So that is categorically the truth in it. You can say it all day long, but genetically, we aren't these people. If I went home and spoke about what I've heard that day, my children would not sleep for months. My wife would be worrying day in, day out. That stuff is not needed to be heard by anyone. It's dark, you know what I mean? And the stress that people are under as well is, you can't, and people are, you look at the way, and you'll see it as well, as even the podcast, we're always striving for more, and The last thing we want to be is too open about our struggles. So I always try and look at it as in like, and the podcast thing, again, it helped massively, even in construction as well. When you actually start speaking to people who are on similar paths or doing similar things in terms of entrepreneurship or business, to find those communities where you can all come together because you've got the same problems, rather than go to your family and say, spill all this stuff where they might not understand it. With the walks that we do to this day, we see it all the time now where people come on a walk and they'll meet another QS or another engineer or another ground worker or another director of a business. And then they realise oh, you've got the same problems as I have. And they're like, yeah, that doesn't fix their problem. But there's a sick part of it where they're like, I'm glad you're suffering because I am as well. But it helps people so much to realise, I'm not on my own.
You become relatable, didn't you?
Yeah. And then you start to realise, this isn't out of the norm. This is the normality of it. And I think that's the main thing. Construction just needs to be very much aware of the stress we are putting on people. And it's horrific. And any other industry wouldn't have it.
You know obviously better than anybody.
Yeah.
Something you said there, which by all means don't share any stories, but like you said there's some dark things that you hear from site. Like you don't have to mention any names, but are you able to share any of those stories just for context to people watching and listening? Yeah,
there's one thing in construction we don't talk about, and the news and the media does not show. Suicide in construction is bad. Construction suicide is happening on projects all over the country. And we know because we get the phone calls. These things don't get promoted across the media channels.
They don't, because I don't hear about it, and I work in construction.
And I'm seeing now Mace have had multiple ones, and I know that for sure because I've spoken to the guys. I've spoken to the witnesses of it all. There's a Bloor Homes out near us. They had a guy do it right in front of the whole site. People, like, it's deep and it's dark and it's triggering, I get that. But the industry needs to show some accountability and be aware this deep dark thing. It's literally brushing it under the rug doesn't help anymore. And we're seeing it. And the scariest thing with it, and I've had flack for this for the last 3 years, and doing things like I like to, a bit loudly, shall we say. I stuck it on the side of a van. I went to Volkswagen and I said, can you give me a van for a week? I can take to an exhibition. They said, yep. So I went to a sign writer I knew. I said, can you make a massive sticker saying, make suicide a riddle? And stick it on the side of this van. And I took it into the middle of the Excel Centre at UK Construction Week, and we put it in the middle. And I just sat there for a few days watching people's reactions. And someone from the HSC kind of laughed at it as well, as if that would happen.
Yeah.
And that to this day has fueled my fire to go, I'm going to come back at you with a vengeance, and I will make something like this happen. Yeah. Now, I've had some great conversations. A good friend of mine, Jack Rumble, who's got a health and safety consultancy company called Havio. He doesn't agree with it. And I like it, and I'm not out there to agree with everyone. Everyone agree with me, and if I don't agree with you, I want to know what your view is, because I was actually changed the other day between something else, but it made me see from a different side, and he was like, I don't know what it is, but I just think there should be a different way to report it. I don't think it works with Riddle. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm like, I get that. I said, but now I'm in the position of, what else can it be? Reportable injuries, diseases, and dangerous occurrence regulations. How is a suicide happening on a project, not a dangerous occurrence? You know what I mean? How is the stress that we talk about in construction so high, and we don't treat that as a dangerous occurrence, let alone a hazard of any description? We put stress into our set of RAMs now because the HSC mentions stress in the workplace. So with that, you will put, as a set of RAMs will say, what's your hazard or your risk? You put it in there. You highlight the number 1 to 5, 1 to 10, whatever you want to do it as the level of risk with that certain thing. The worst case worst case scenario to the risk of suicide, stress is suicide.
Yeah.
So you've got stress in your RAMs. Okay, too much stress, they could be ill. It can bring on this. It can bring on that. The worst case scenario is they take their own life, suicide. That set of RAMs, at the moment that person takes their own life, God forbid it, goes null and void, because the HSC does not consider suicide in the workplace to be a factor. And that is the truth. And that is categorically factual. It's on their website. Suicide is a personal issue. It's not a work-related issue.
Really?
Full stop. And that is, and I'm saying it for 3 years now, and the flack I've had, I found an amazing lady online called Professor Sarah Waters, who does a lot of work with Hazards magazine, hazards.org, hazards.com. Apologies, I might get that one wrong, but I'll fact check it. Yeah, in the comments below. And then, but she done a lot of work with regards to Ruth Perry, who was the headmistress that took her own life a few years back. Hit national media, everyone, the Ofsted report. the Ofsted report, she couldn't face the fact that her situation within the Ofsted report, she was going to let down the whole school because she didn't get outstanding. And she couldn't face that, and she took her own life. That does not show you anything much more than workplace stress. And she's left a note, I believe, I was informed, that explained she couldn't face this. She took her own life. The HSC have put pressure on Ofsted report to change the way they report Ofsted, not the way the HSC report workplace suicide. That is not changed there. They are doing a lot of work in the teaching world on that. Sussex and Surrey police have both come together, and they are now pushing for riddles to be taken into account suicide, because there's a very, very, very high percentage of police officers under investigation who have taken their own lives because of the workplace investigation going on. Right. That is stress and suicide in the workplace. And it's not, so they are outside of our industry now, taking on that employment law needs to change. So I'm a little bit over and done with construction, construction as an industry with regards to this subject. I'm like, no, we need to go bigger than this. This is employment law across the country. And I say it, and people say, Steve, stop, just say it. I'm just literally a ground worker. I've got no qualifications to my name. I've not barely even got a CSCS card. I'm a labourer on that note. I've got machine tickets all over the shop. But my CSCS card, that's a whole new argument and another fucking facade of scams in the industry. But but there is nothing. But I've learned from my studies and homework that employment law doesn't cover this situation. We were having people dying at a rate of knots years ago in the construction industry on site with fatalities. And what did they bring in? They brought in the Health and Safety at Work Act, and obviously all the PPE that we now have to this day, and all this duty of care. We brought that in. We now have high vises on. We have harnesses, hard hats, gloves, glasses, boots, long sleeve trousers, some sites long sleeve shirts. That has brought the amount of people that die on site down significantly, and we are one of the best in the world for it now, I believe. That shows that when legislation comes in, things change. And another part to an industry is born. We've now got this health and safety departments across the whole industry, what has brought safety to an absolute paramount. But the health side of it is very much still left in the background, really, with it. And I'm like, when we bring in, it will be a win, because it will happen. When legislation comes in to factor in suicide, and also just for mental health in general in terms of stress in the workplace, when the legislation is aligned properly, I truly believe that we will see a massive rate. Companies will be given budgets, their tender processes, all this stuff will have to factor in what are they doing to support their staff. Clients will have to be held responsible for the pressure they are putting on their supply chain. And then that will, guess what that will do? That will help the program pressures. And guess what it will also do? It will help companies get paid on time, because companies will literally be able to say, the pressure you're putting on us. There's going to be, we've had 4,000 construction companies go bust last year, 4,000 the year before, and I think 2,000 the year before that. So 10,000 companies in the last 3 years have gone bust. I know for sure that many of those directors are taking their own lives because they can't deal with the fact they've lost livelihoods for a whole business of people. All that stuff will not fix itself, but there will be significant improvements if we can do it. And that's, people come at me in a way going, oh, you just want to legislate this so you can take all these companies to the cleaners for treating people bad. I'm like, no, that's the backup negative way of looking at this straight away. We want legislation. I want legislation in place, because people will then be given a set of guidelines and rules and regulations to work to. I've seen standards across the industry. Then they're out there, but every I say we're speaking to fit out world, the highways world, everyone's working off different standards. And to certain companies, certain standards matter, some don't really matter. Supply chain, you need this, you need that one, you need this accreditation. The standards are all mixed up across the industry. It's not really tangible, but when you've got a legislation in place, boom, that's everybody. We're all under that umbrella. And that is kind of what we're seeing now. Like, this needs to happen, and I'll carry on taking abuse about it all day long, but I'm still going to push for it. No one can change that.
Two things I want to speak about off the back of that as well. So the first thing is, you mentioned earlier that, suicide is paramount in workplace, but if I just stick it to construction, but what sort of numbers roughly are we talking that people commit suicide?
So it's a funny one. We've actually, at HQ Construction Sport as such, we've almost took a step back from the figures and the stats. And the reason why is we know it's horrific because we hear about it all the time. The truth of what it is, we don't know. ONS factor in, when you look at ONS statistics, they factor in any any kind of college course gets factored into the same category, 'cause it's all categorised in the construction categories. So when you factor in college courses into the construction categories as well, you also take into effect hairdressing, jewellers, and all these. Whoever's at college studying something gets factored into our own category.
Cool.
So because there's not been any time or pressure put into the ONS reports or investigation work, the facts aren't out there of exactly what it is. We know there's been reports over the years of 2 a day. We argued then, was that 2 a day Monday to Friday or 2 a day Monday to Sunday? Because we work 24/7 in our industry. But from it, it's kind of come out with the fact that it's definitely exceeding, say, 600-700. I think it was 552, someone said before. Then someone said 800, then 900. And we went a roundabout figure, went out the other year of 700, around 700 a day. 2 a day, 365 times 2, obviously, in excess of 700. So then it factored in it's literally been 7,000 over the last decade. And then that's when we started working a bit on the tools as well. And we launched Project 7K. What was the Lost City? So 7,000 people over the last 10 years is the same amount of people who could have built a city the same side of Cardiff.
Wow.
And then we're an industry that says we ain't got enough staff.
It's saddening to hear that, but then the first thing that comes to my mind is there's 7,000 lives lost, but not only that, there's 7,000 people's families that are suffering, and then the
2 to 3 in each household, probably.
Extended families and friends. So like it's a lot. The effect goes on for so much longer than just those 7,000 people.
And you look, and it does. And it's not the best way to compare it. But so look how COVID spread. Like and all that. The way they used to show that was so because it was pumped into our bloody heads every day. Yeah. But that one person touches 8 people, touches 50 people, touches 2, and then within no time, the amount of people that are. And there will become a trend, and I sat down with a guy yesterday, Anthony Hegarty, and lives in South Korea. He's over in the UK at the moment, but he's done a significant report, study into something called the Crane Report over there. But he's an investigator basically by trade, I suppose, and it's unbelievable what he's come about. But even to the point of that, speaking about this loudly, it creates trends as well where people will do it because it becomes fashionable, and it's a mad thing. And he said that South Korea banned a number of things with regards to the media and what they can report about it, and they've seen a drop in suicides because they're not going into detail about certain celebrities and the way celebrities do it because it becomes this trend. So it's such an interesting topic, and we need the money and funding needs to go into construction, not to construction workers and even charities like us as much as we need to support, but for professionals to come in and grab hold of it and look after it. Because at the moment, there is no funding for mental health in construction. The companies are doing their bit. We work with many companies, but I can promise you now these companies just offset it to their supply chain. Like no one's actually investing any finances into this. Yeah. The Construction Leadership Council don't believe in legislation with it. Mark Reynolds spoke the other day at an event we were at. He believes we should look after it ourselves in-house. How we do that, I don't know. Because
as a person or as a company?
The industry should look after itself. We don't need legislation, was his words, because legislation is there to come into place when we don't know how to handle something. But until then, we should handle it ourselves. I said, well, what number does that need to hit for us to realise we don't know how to handle this? So they've done a survey over the last few weeks at Warwick University. I'm not too sure about it. I spent 10 months talking to them about it. I then spent 10 minutes reversing out of it all. I was like, I don't want nothing to do with this. Disagreed with that. I don't agree with it, but I appreciate that what might come of their work could save a few lives and hopefully make change. It'll bring some more media around the subject, I suppose. But what are we doing that is going to significantly change things? There is so much money at stake. Yeah. And the people that care and the real honest people, and they are in every company, every place, and the industry's full of them. But when you've got a tier 2 company that's run by families who want the best for their company, when you're trying to get that support and help from a tier 1 company that is backed by shareholders, and these shareholders are based across the world, and they are based on different factors and cultures and all sorts that don't really look at anything. Nobody wants people to go to work and take their own life. I get that. But when someone's day-to-day job is going into work and looking at numbers, they're not seeing the emotions behind this. And at the moment, the tier 1 world, I truly believe, is the problem in construction at the moment, that the way they're not going, right, let's all just come together as tier 1s and show that we are accountable for this and can make significant change, because it's a top-down industry. Yeah. When they say bark, everyone down below barks. Yeah. And at the moment, they're not leading, and that's the problem. We've got 99.2% or something like that, I think it is, the industry is small to medium companies, SMEs. and 0.8% of it, I think, is, or 0.9, it might be, 0.8 or 0.9, is run by tier ones. But they run the leadership council, they run the industry. They're the only people that liaise with government, apparently. They're our way to government is through them, but they don't represent us, and they don't speak the volume of what's on the ground. They don't get people ice creams when they need to get them.
Yeah, and also a lot of the time the guys leading those tier ones, this is just my personal opinion, I don't know if this is right, but they're not on the shareholders and the people at the top of the chain, they're not on the cold face of it.
No.
So they would never truly understand. They're looking at income, maybe what they're getting, and looking at the turnover of their companies and the profit margins, and they're thinking, oh, it's all really good, but because they're not on the cold face of it, they'll never truly understand the real issues that are going on behind the scenes.
So we started, because I've got brought into it, and I know you probably understand a bit about all the retention side of the businesses and all this, and I'm still looking into it now, thinking, this is all new to me. But it's interesting. But when you've got companies who are working on a 2 to 3% profit margin, and then some companies are similar in single figure profit margin, and then these companies are holding large percentage of money in retention, and then these companies go bust, and then everyone below do. I'm like, that is just bizarre. Like, how can this be allowed? So we're speaking to a few people at the moment who are really pushing this retention side of it. A few kind of very decent people in the law side of things at the moment who are saying this has got to stop. We are forcing such bad media around our industry because of it, and people are it's in that program pressure, the kind of retention stuff and payment procedures is just crippling all of us.
It really is. Wasn't there a discussion about a couple of years ago where it was going to pass law, something in the retention world?
Yeah, there was something else come out a while ago about fair payment procedure or something like that. Another thing come out. I don't think it's really been implemented yet, but it also means you need these tier ones to grab it and push it down the supply chain, but they won't because it affects their own themselves.
That's what I mean. And also the issue is so deep rooted in terms of the payment structure is not right, but also it's what goes on behind the payment structure in terms of someone who really needs the work to keep their family going, so they'll take on the retention, and they're like, oh, I need the work, so I'll take the 5% retention or whatever it is, and then they're like, but as long as you give me the next job, then they'll get the next job, and then there's 10% retention on that or 5%.
Dangle the carrot each time,
and the carrot's been dangled, and then before you know it, they're not even making any money. No. They're not being able to pay their staff, and then that's probably another cause of sad suicide in the industry.
100%, and everyone, I think most people know it, especially when you get further down the chain. The people at the bottom, the lads on the ground, their bosses, and I'll say this from experience as well, will do everything to make sure they get paid, even if it means starving themselves, to make sure the guys on the ground are paid. No one wants to knock anyone, especially in an industry that was built on good relationships and bridges not being burnt. Yeah. Nobody wants to knock anyone. I get that. But then there's people out there who they've got away with it before, and they do it again. But it's mad. And you speak to anyone outside of construction as well, in other industries, and they go, that's how we do it in construction.
They think, what? Yeah, they do.
Actually, speaking yesterday, Anthony was telling us about the, I'm not sure if it's to do with the suicides and the mental health statistics. The hairdressing world looks into it. They've got studies. They've researched all this mental health stuff and suicide in the hairdressing world. Yeah. I'm like, no disrespect to hairdressers whatsoever, but we're a bit bigger in that industry. We are enormous. We build everything. You know what I mean? And I think this is the way that society looks at construction. Not construction workers, from road workers to rail workers to the fit out guys, to people in the infrastructure world, whatever it is. We are, when COVID hits and everyone's dying of these natural diseases, everybody is, you stay at home, no one's allowed to go out. Let them lot go out, they go crack on. They can go crack out. And the amount of people you've probably spoken to myself, so construction didn't stop. We didn't stop. I was sharing a welfare cabin with 15 other people. It was a 6-man welfare cabin. We had 15 of us sharing one of them, one microwave, one toilet. And it was a very multicultural team of us there as well. Probably it was from all over the world. Yeah. All with different backgrounds. Some of the bigger number of Indian lads behind us who had massive families at home. So if you look at that kind of way the COVID branching system works, again, the amount of people who could be affected by us going to work that day, but no, don't worry, you boys can crack on because the company needs to be paid because we're paid on infrastructure money. So you just got on with it. Now I'm not knocking that whatsoever because I took every shift I could for COVID because I didn't know what was around the corner, like many of us didn't. So I'm not knocking it whatsoever, but there's double standards to the way that people in the industry, and again, the stuff that we go through would not be accepted. And someone says this, we tried it with an EAP platform a few years ago for construction, and we couldn't get people on it because guys don't have email addresses, they're not employed by the company, so there wasn't much of an employee side of it. and it failed dramatically. But we learnt so much from trying that. But when we realised then, even the company who delivered the kind of the platform, they were like, we didn't realise construction was like this. I was like, it's its own different. Many of the industries, from the banking sector, the financing worlds, to I don't know, in the shipping container, whether everyone's directly employed and all that, it's easy to manage. But construction is literally, to this day, the wild, wild west.
It really is, isn't it?
And you have to look at the fraudulent scandals that go on in our industry on a weekly basis, will pop up across media channels, and the way that, all this stuff goes on. And
tarnishes our industry, doesn't it?
But look at the people behind it. It's the people, the biggest. There was one a few months ago, Mason blew free, and you think, Christ, Mason are the heads of the leadership council, and they're caught up in this massive fraudulent scam.
How is that happening?
How can you just expect everyone down below it just to nod along then? Everyone out there is just take what you can when you can, because you don't know when someone's going to go bust, you know, when something's going to go wrong. And what do we end up with? We end up with this massive pot of panicking people and an industry that is so vulnerable.
But so huge in terms of what it delivers for the world and society, but so vulnerable.
We're all, it's a double-edged sword. We offer I always say the hope thing with it is like we offer so much hope to anyone in any walk of life. Anyone in walk of life can walk into my local pub and my local rugby club and get a job on a building site next week. You know what I mean? Like, we don't care who you are, what you are. Can you walk? Yeah. Can you lift a lump of bricks? Yeah. You come on. You're on site, and that in itself is, one, the best thing in the world, because everyone gets opportunity. But again, it's the worst thing in the world, because we take on so many people who are potentially from vulnerable backgrounds that we have no checks that's going. Anyone can go get a machine ticket of some description for a machine what's worth £500,000, swings lumps of steel across London, and no one's actually looked at him and said, do we all know he's just done 15 years in prison for murder because he drops out on someone's head in an alley on a night out or something, you know what I mean? This guy's a serial killer. We just no one's actually done any background checks. So I'm not saying that these crane drivers are serial killers, but
funny story, sorry, just a quick funny story that popped to my head. I want to comment on a couple of things you said there, but just a quick funny stories. We were working on and I won't mention any names or the site, but we were working on a site, and it was literally next door to a justice centre. Yeah. And the site manager, who I'd never met before, he wasn't our site manager, he was whoever we were working for. And I turned up and I was chatting to him, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I know these premises quite well, actually." I was like, "Oh, do you?" He's like, "Yeah, I was actually in there not too long ago in the Justice Centre." And I was thinking, does anyone know this guy? Anyway, I've done research on it, and he's been in prison for 6 years before, and he's literally just come out, and then he's back on a building site for, I won't say what he was in prison for, but something you wouldn't, if you knew, you wouldn't allow him to be on a building site. On a building site. I thought that's crazy.
It is, and it's everywhere. And the other side to it is, when we look at the trauma thing, is what I'm really interested in, what fascinates me, and how this industry, again, gets away with not even mentioning it. But we have military guys who are frontline, who obviously, we mentioned, suffer with PTSD, or even if they don't, they've witnessed stuff that they may not be able to handle. And these people literally are suffering, and they're on our building sites operating large machines, or just operating in general is dangerous. And the industry has no accountability for that. You go for a CCS card test, what literally says to you, there's a fire over there. What do you put on it? Petrol or water? That is all
Petrol,
you need. And this guy's an arsonist as well. So but like this epoxy oil for safety test like that. When no one's why don't we just qualify people a little bit more better? Show them we actually care. Not just throw them through this epoxy little the health check thing, touchscreen test, and then just get on site, and then it's
a strange concept, isn't it? Because
there's so much to fix in there.
The low barrier to entry is almost really good because it's an inviting industry, but then it's also really bad because it's such a low barrier to entry sometimes. So you're like, what type of people are we bringing onto our sites, and what effect could they potentially have? Yeah,
and you get it as well. I see a lot of it of just kind of highlighting certain people of demographics, male or female, and all this, or we need to do more for this group or more for that group. I'm just like, just be good people, and just when people want a job, give them a job and give them an opportunity, and the rest will look after itself. And any kind of way on that, I'm going to get on my bandwagon with it, but I almost find a lot of that, you end up being divisive to so many people as well. Then I think, look, we need everybody in this industry. If we all just care about each other and look after each other, whether where you're from or what you are, I don't really care. If you're willing to help me lift a lump of wood because it's heavy, I want you to be on my team. You know what I mean? When you say no, I don't help you, then okay, then you can foxtrot Oscar. But but that's the thing with it is, and the industry is riddled with good people, and we know that, and that's why I think obviously you did the podcast speaking to many people and ourselves and getting amongst this industry, you realise it's awesome. And anyone, you can go anywhere in the world and walk into a place, again, rugby club always say it, but any kind of environment where you can walk into any site and just say to them, look, I know how to lay a brick, or I know how to lift that, or I know how to operate that machine. You've got a job there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tickets, don't worry about that. Someone on Amazon or Instagram will sell you one. There's another podcast. But
no,
yeah.
You are right. You really are. One thing I want to touch on quickly as well is you mentioned that you might receive some hate or like hateful messages or just people in general. For something you're doing, which is such a positive change in the industry, like, are you able to share, don't have to name names, but like the hate you've had and why you think that might be happening?
There was, up until yesterday, yesterday would probably qualify for the negative side of it. I've only had one call where someone said, Steve, when you sit down with you said something. And I was like, okay, and that was 3 years ago. Apart from that, I've had nothing but support. And the amount of people have asked the same question, even private as well. Yeah. Steve, you must get some abuse. I've had a few people I know where companies go, probably you wouldn't want to steer away from working with Steve a little bit because he's quite loud. And I get that, and I understand that it's a sensitive subject. A lot of companies have a lot on the line. I get that. But in terms of actual publicly saying anything to me, or even privately saying anything to me, it doesn't happen. And all I get from people is, Steve, I appreciate what you're saying. Like, you're representing a lot of us here. There was the one yesterday, a guy, I only give it the time of day, but literally gone off on one, massively swearing on LinkedIn because I had mentioned the Riddle thing again a few weeks ago. And he's on the bandwagon, F this, F that. And I was just like, crikey. I said, if you obviously comment about me, but you blocked me at the same time, so I can't see your comments. But people are sending it to me because quite a lot of people are connected to the people that we're associated with. Yeah. But I've had nothing for support. That's good. I got called in once because I'd spoken about Mark Reynolds' car because I knew what car he had, and they thought I was stalking him, and that was false. His office had let me know what he was driving, so that was the one I got called in for. That was quite entertaining because they didn't want to mention the suicides in their job that I'd also mentioned. Believe it or not, they were more interested about the car sniping I'd been looking at. But that was the only thing. And apart from that, it's literally everybody is literally not blowing a trumpet, just like, Steve, just thank you for what you're doing. Like,
how can you not? Like, do you know what I mean? How can you not give positivity to it?
Yeah, but I've got my own company that operates in its own little world. Yeah. Where I'm not too, that kind of can tick over in the background no matter what. And at the same time, I run the charity, so I'm not really policed by anyone like that. So we've got a lot of companies that we work with now who I do have a duty of care. And I'm very aware of what I do say and not putting anything kind of upon them guys. But they're all with us because they know what we're about and they support us. And everything we're doing is based on the truth. It's factual. There's nothing... you can go back, and I'm sure you have on the LinkedIn stuff you mentioned, but you can go back. Nothing I've said has been non-factual. Nothing has literally been made up. Nothing is going, I'm just saying this just to get the clickbait. Everything I've ever said is based on facts and things that have happened and heard. Yeah. And because I've done that, I end up now getting so many people dropping stuff to us, messaging us. Steve, do you know this has happened? Do you know, I'm literally like the whistleblowers are letting me know stuff. Yeah. And a lot of the time, I know I've had this as well with a few main contractors. I'm like, I've emailed someone I know because we've got there's most of the tier one world, I know them as well now, firsthand. And I can let them know. I go, look, just let you know, one of your guys on this job in London, this has happened, and no one's actually addressed it. And they come to me, cheers, Steve, I appreciate that. Please don't go on LinkedIn about it. And I'm like, no, I don't. I don't. And I very rarely do. And this really gets my back up. Yeah. That I just think is morally wrong. Yeah. But I like to feel I've been built on good morals. And because of that, it's just gone from strength to strength. And there's people come back around now. I spoke to someone last week, actually said, Steve, I was told to stay away from you guys. He said, but now I've actually got to meet you and know you. You're absolutely sound. I'm like,
love that.
Yeah, so no, I'm all for it. Again, and from the groundwork background, if you don't agree with me, that's absolutely fine. I respect it. Yeah, no, I'm more than happy to have it out with you. So I got one last week. This is an interesting one. There might be a clickbait. I was on an event and someone started going about they've been going around the country taking the flags down, and I was like, oh, this is interesting and probably a subject I don't really want to get on because you get him thinking, shit, what's he going to say now? And I was like, and then but then at the same time he kind of come, and I was more for let's put the flag up and protect our, not protect our nation, be proud of who we are. And he says, but Steve, why wasn't you doing that 6 months ago? And I was like, what do you mean? He went, well, it's only now this whole thing about the boats and everything coming in, that everyone wants to be proud to be British. He said, I get it. He said, I'm proud to be British. He said, but I don't think we should just use this knee-jerk reaction to put flags up, because we're kind of showing that as a nation, we're only now passionate about Britain because the boats are coming in.
Yeah.
He said, why weren't we proud about it for what we've done and stood for over the last few years? And why haven't we had our flag out? Why is it saying this? And I would have to go into detail, but it's just one way he looked at it. And I thought, you're bloody right, you know.
Yeah.
And I was really strongly against what he said at the start. And then I went, he's got a point. We're only doing this because it's a knee-jerk reaction to look like we're doing something. What we should have been doing this years and years ago.
It's the in thing, I suppose.
Yeah,
isn't
it is, and it comes across, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, really.
Yeah, it is, but yeah, we won't go. That's a whole new ball game. That subject, Jesus Christ.
Just on the back of that, so like going forward with like construction sport, the charity as such.
Yeah.
Like, what difference do you want to really make? I know apart from the obvious, but like, what change do you want to make to the industry?
Yes, our 4 pillars are basically one, engagement with people across sites all the time. Number 2 is getting the help we need from Mark Eastwood and his company Habby Treat. Habby Treat have been supporting us since 2018. Again, I'll touch back on it, but my cousin was suffering at the time with bowel cancer. She not long after passed away. And then my little boy was born at the same time, and I was just emotionally numb. I had nothing in me, and you're just thinking, I'm normally quite a big emotional lad anyway. So I'm very much the same character as my dad in a way. And he's 6 foot tall, 20 stone cab driver, and cries within 2 minutes of Sound of Music. It just looks like Ray Winston, absolute melts at Sound of Music. And but I realised I was numb and I wanted to get help. And this company just reached out to us through LinkedIn of all places. We offer this direct trauma support to frontline police officers. They're working with Merseyside and Great Manchester Police at the time. They're also working with Great Western Rail, with the train drivers, for instance, obviously self-explanatory. And he kind of said that we want to tap into the construction sector because we can see it's an issue. And I was like, I'll tell you what, case study number 1, I see how good you are. Yeah. Can I have your services? And I'll be completely honest, I wanted a freebie. Yeah. And I was completely pissed off. They didn't give me a freebie either, and they never have. And I was 100%, but they're right because they're professionals in their own era. Yeah. They come in professionally, they dealt with me professionally, and they turned my life around. They literally, honestly, what they showed in my head, what I can do and help myself with was unbelievable. I had 3 sessions with them. And from that day onwards, 2018 to more so 2021, when things started to really take off with what we're doing, 21 to 2024, we started offering that service to people that we knew may need it urgently. And end of 2024, we'd had 4 cases that had come to us who needed that help. In the last year, things have picked up dramatically, and this year alone, we've had 15 people. So we've had 15 people who are in a position where they're pretty much saying, I've got things in my head, I don't know what's going on, like in dark places. And not also saying they're all suicidal, but they're all saying, I don't know what's happening and I'm worried. Yeah. For their own, not in terms of their actions, just what they're hearing and what they're seeing, feeling, should we say. So we've put them over and they've helped 15 people. 15 out of 15 help them dramatically. Each person that goes through their services to us as a charity costs us about £1,200. Yeah. And we, with the funding that comes in from the companies that support us for our 100 Club, we pay for that service to the people that need it. So that's kind of been it's been a big piece. And everyone says, I think we'll realise, Steve, that you've got a free service because you're a charity like that, but it's costing you actually a lump of money. Yeah. How do you do it? I'm like, people come to it who are serious. And there's a lot of people know we do this service, but people only come to us when they seriously need it. And we can see that and we can measure it. And we've never said no to anyone because, no one's ever come to us and just said, I just fancy a bit of therapy. I'm like, well, that's not the place. I said, if you come to us going, we can hear the noises when someone needs it.
It's so refreshing to hear that.
And that's we don't promote it heavily because we can't afford to fund the whole industry with it. If every company in the industry gets behind us, we'd be able to promote it a lot more. We just got to gradually start promoting that as more and more people support us, really. So, and
I'm sure it'll come. The more you shout about it, I'm sure it'll come.
This year alone, I say, it's been louder and our funding's gone up. Our team's grown a bit as well. There's 4 of us behind the scenes now. And it's all moving organically and controlling that. And it's just like a company in the construction industry, doing things sensibly and at the right times and not biting off too much more. If there's any a model I can learn by, it's by looking at construction and how people do it and how you should. And it's tough. It's extremely tough, just like any business in general anyway, let alone a charity. So that is the second one. The third kind of pillar with us is to change the way the company, the industry oversees mental health and wellbeing in construction. So that's like industry kind of standards. To change that. That's kind of the way sorting itself out. I'm almost looking above that now because the 4th one is changing legislation. So that's when we go outside the industry to change that. And in the same time, I'm always looking at that legislation one. A few people say that's a bit of a big ask, isn't it? I'm like, well, why is it? It's a big ask telling a 16-year-old ground worker one day you'll run a charity. You know what I mean? That's a big ask. And we're there. So, yeah, we're doing all right. So the next one is how do we change legislation? And that's our 4 kind of main aims with that. And in the meantime, we'll provide as many kind of opportunities to engage with people and enjoy ourselves with at the same time, predominantly sport and exercise based. We've been around the industry this year. I think we've done about 8 or 9 Peloton spin challenges where we take Peloton bikes onto site. Great crack, real good laugh. And that's been an absolute a win-win for everybody. That's been brilliant. Social value side, love it. The well-being teams love it. The clients love it because they're showing the engagement of everyone on the job. And everyone on the ground gets to have a 15-minute push on a bike and literally in 15 minutes, blow a gasket and get an absolute pump on. So it's been brilliant. We've got a rugby match next week at Saracens Rugby Club. We had a walk with, and that's all construction workers, 150 guests coming along to watch. And then last week we done a walk with Vinci Facilities, Vinci Defence and Vinci Building Solutions, the 3 departments, in kind of support with the MOD and RAF. With RAF High Wycombe, we walked from there to RAF Benson, 20 miles, and then 22 miles. And then we walked from 22 miles from RAF Benson to Sandhurst on the second day. And we finished at Sandhurst, was an unbelievable place. So we were there on this big walk. There was 10, what was there? How many of us were there? So it was 9 or 10 of us done the actual walk. 5 or 6 support staff got involved. And then whilst we're amongst that, promoting all that, the groundwork's going on, and then the podcast amongst that as well.
Yeah.
So
mate, you're doing so much, and it's so refreshing to hear that. You're trying to make such a change to an industry that probably really needs it.
Yeah.
It needs someone like you to be at the forefront of trying to make that change.
I said to the guys, a few in the office 2 years ago, they said, remember we sat down and discussed what do we need to do? I said, yeah. They said that we be louder than anyone else and we be persistent with it. So we don't just go and do it. We don't bang a drum one week and disappear for the next 51 weeks. We
keep going.
We keep on going. We want to, painfully pull it out of this industry that we can change things to make it fun. And we just want the big people to realise, we should get behind them really because they ain't going nowhere unless you take us out.
Which is coincidentally, one thing I wanted to kind of leave it on was a post you put out maybe 3 or 4 months ago, which kind of ties in well with the fact that you don't want to you want to keep the noise going, was following today's news of another death of a construction worker, we've got to stand up for the people of our industry and ask, is enough really being done? These deaths are happening on the projects that have the strictest rules and regulations, but who steps up and speaks for our industry? Who's leading it? I'm going to get very honest, and it's going to upset a number of people, but the truth is our workers are being killed by the lack of leadership, and it's wrong.
Yeah.
Very moving.
That would have been, around the same time as I parted ways with the Leadership Council in a way. On my own account, my own merit, I just said that we can't be sitting in these rooms of people and multiple people just saying they can't make this meeting today all the time because they've got, I don't know, whatever they've got on. And it's just who is voicing it. We don't have unions working like they do in other countries. We've got unions, but they're almost tarnished from what I hear. I've only heard multiple people tell me they're part of a union in groundworks. And there's probably 2 or 3 out of, not to blow me on trumpet, quite a few thousand construction workers I've met have said they're part of unions. And I'm going to speak to a couple. I spoke to one the other day. They do want to talk because I need to understand them more before I start casting judgment. But the industry again is so fragmented. There's no one group that brings it all together. And I've seen that firsthand now. There's people. We've got the Leadership Council that apparently, according to their website, represent us and liaises with government for us. But they've been appointed by the government to do something. However, then you've got people pushing the BSI standards the other day regarding suicide and workplace. That, as far as I'm aware, has gone to the government without any liaising with the Leadership Council. You've got a massive group of Schwab, a lad, Romford Essex, who's put together this tool theft campaign, and he's done unbelievably well what he's leading up. He's got to the government. They've addressed it in Parliament. That was out without anyone at leadership level, construction, getting involved, even though the whole industry got behind it. So people just go in there direct now. And we're realising everyone is out for himself. That's why I say Wild West here now. It's just like, what can we do? Who do we pull together? There's so many dormant organisations. We've got one called, we found the other day, the Health in Construction Leadership Group. Ever heard of it? No, exactly. They're headed up by the powers that be to look after all of us and the health of construction. No one knows of them. I spoke to a couple of people very senior a few weeks ago. Never heard of them. They're all there, and it's headed up by the biggest people in the industry. And then it's due for renewal at the middle of this year. Nothing's even happened. It's just sat dormant.
Yeah.
There's so many of these entities that sound like a good idea. They're a knee-jerk reaction to something that's gone on. And you only need to look at the likes of Grenfell. We had a podcast and there with the head of health and safety for it. And it just opens your eyes to this the way this construction is looked at. Now, the one thing, I'm not sure if you heard it, but the guy, the emergency services at Grenfell were given a massive canteen. Now, John Houlihan, compliments to him for coming in and telling us about it, but the emergency services had a paid-for canteen for all the emergency staff and anyone involved with the operations at Grenfell post-fire and during, I suppose. The construction workers were told to sign waivers to say they won't talk to any media, and then they were sent down the cafes down the road to get their breakfast if they want a thing, and they had their own little canteen with a kettle and a microwave.
I just can't believe it.
And they're walking past all this staff,
Yeah.
literally, who have all got these lovely, lavish canteens laid on like this. But the construction workers are just sent out there. So I'm like, no one's proven to me that we're being represented by anyone and supported in a way. And why? I don't know. I honestly think, not to blow my own trumpet, I don't think anyone out there has seen as many sides to this industry as I have, in a way. And that, honestly, it's not been big-headed, but there's no one doing a job that I've been doing where I talk to a scaffold company, then I talk to a rail engineering company, then I talk to an oil rig company around sea, and then I talk to them. And I'm seeing it all from all angles, whereas everyone else is very much in there. The industry is so vast. But I'm seeing it from so many angles. I'm like, everyone's got the same problems. Every company has got the same issues. They've got the same great characters as well, don't get me wrong. But everyone is suffering in different ways, and they're all walking along a knife's edge. And yeah, I'll back down. You haven't thrown me under the bus too much for that one. So that's all right. I still stand by that. There's not many. I was actually quite intrigued to see what come out. But but there's been some huge stuff, and it continues. Like I say, when you get in touch and give us the opportunity to come down here, I hugely appreciate.
No, it's absolutely fine. I'm happy that I can share this. You're the only person I know that I actually know, and see that's trying to make such a positive change. There must be other people out there that I haven't seen, but I've just seen what you're doing, and I just really wanted to get you on. And
No, anytime the phone is always on. I always try and squeeze it in. It's getting tough this year. Who knows? Christmas is coming, but any opportunity just to say that and anyone out there who literally is in a position where they're like, agree with him or disagree with him, just please let me know. Because you might teach me something I don't know. But like I say, the main people that have come to and disagreed with the Riddle thing are people kind of health and safety related, what's interesting. But why did the police force agree with me? In the teaching world, it seems to agree with me now. So there seems to be something. France has done it. France has put factored in the pressures of stress in relation to suicide. And this Professor Sarah Waters at Leeds University studied that heavily. There's custodial sentences gone down on people who are tarnishing, who are suffering. Companies have been massively affected by the stress. Japan, South Korea's done it, Japan's done it. I know they're very different culturally based countries and they're very much unionised in certain ways, but we're supposed to be Great Britain that leads things and invents stuff, you know what I mean? And the one shocking excuse that winds me up all the time is when people go, well, yeah, but mental health is complex, Steve. And I'm like, putting a fucking train line underneath London is complex. Don't tell me a little bit of paperwork and legislation is complex. So, something can be done.
Mate, thank you so much for coming on today.
Cheers,
mate, it's been eye-opening for me to hear firsthand. I follow your stuff anyway, so I've kind of heard it over social media and whatnot, but firsthand listening to it, it's been eye-opening, and I really hope people who listen, if there's anyone out there who, needs a bit of help, then where can they find you? And
so all the socials are on. We try and be on every single one because we realised that it's free media based, isn't it? These days, instead of getting newspapers, just to get online. So we're on Construction Sports on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We try to don't do too much on Twitter. That is where people go to rot, isn't it? Twitter, Jesus Christ. So I don't get much stick, and it's probably because I keep myself off of Twitter. We are on there, I think, but we don't do anything on it. But all the social. Steve Kerslake, Steve, not Stephen, unless I'm in trouble. So.
Mate, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, and for bringing your podcast to the world as well.
No worries. Thanks, Steve.
Cheers, pal.